Welcome to another episode of Assembly Bethesda On Air, friends. I'm Hayne Fogarty, and today we are stepping into some pages of Genesis that carry a significant amount of weight, and, I'd argue, a lot of misunderstanding. We're looking at the story of Onan, the phrase spilling his seed, and the crucial levirate duty described in Genesis 38, verses 8 through 10. Now, this is one of those passages that gets quoted so frequently in modern conversations, but often, and this is the kicker, without the full context of what was truly unfolding. We're going to walk through it carefully, casually, yet with that distinctive Gothic Christian lens that permits us to sit comfortably in the dark, complex parts without rushing to the easy light. We'll examine the refusal, the divine judgment, the cultural backdrop, and ultimately how God's plan relentlessly moves forward, even when people say a resounding no to their calling. So let's begin at the very start of the chapter to truly grasp the flow. Judah, the son of Jacob, has separated from his brothers. He marries a Canaanite woman and has 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Marries Tamar, but he's wicked in the sight of the Lord, and tragically God takes his life, leaving Tamar as a widow. In that ancient world, a widow without children was in an incredibly desperate, vulnerable position. So, with Tamar now a widow, Judah, as the patriarch, tells his second son Onan to go into Tamar and fulfill this sacred levirate duty. The command is straightforward. Marry her, raise up seed for your brother. This child would be counted as heir, keeping his name and property alive. But here's where Onan makes his fateful choice. He goes into Tamar, yet he's acutely aware that any offspring would not be considered his own in terms of legacy. So with calculated, selfish intent, he spills his seed on the ground instead of completing the act in a way that would produce that crucial heir. The Bible then states that the thing he did displeased the Lord, and God struck him dead too. Now, this is where interpretations get twisted. Many today use this verse as a blanket condemnation for personal habits or contraception. But when you stay rooted firmly in context, the true sin isn't the physical method itself. The sin is the deliberate, self-serving refusal to do what God commanded through this family custom. Onan wanted the pleasure without the weighty responsibility, saying a definitive no to the duty placed upon him by his father and his culture. That selfishness is key. To truly unpack this better, we need to remember what levirate marriage genuinely signified in the ancient Near East. It wasn't unique to Israel, but it was taken profoundly seriously. The core idea was twofold: to protect the vulnerable widow and to prevent the family name from simply dying out. It was about legacy, community, ensuring death didn't get the final word on a person's lineage. Later, Deuteronomy 25 even describes a public ceremony where, if the brother refuses, the widow can remove his sandal and spit in his face. Imagine that public shame. The shame is real because the duty is undeniably real. In Genesis 38, Onan doesn't even reach that point. His refusal is private, calculated, and absolute. He goes through the motions, but deliberately withholds the intended outcome. That purely selfish choice, that calculated disobedience, is precisely what brings out the swift and devastating judgment. Let's sit with that stark image for a moment, in our Gothic way. Picture the tent at night, the oil lamp flickering, the ground cold and dusty. Onan makes his choice, and the seed, the potential for life, falls wasted. It's a powerful visual of potential poured out for nothing, of sacred duty abandoned in the shadows. That imagery speaks directly to the Gothic Christian heart. We don't flinch from the somber, we embrace it. As we consider this story, we can also see how it fits into the bigger picture of God's unwavering faithfulness. Even when his people fail, the covenant promise relentlessly moves forward. Onan's death is a sobering moment of divine justice, yes, but it's certainly not the final word on Judah's lineage. That, my friends, is the profound hope we carry. We can acknowledge the hardness of the text without ever softening its edges. God really did strike Onan down. The divine displeasure was real, palpable. His refusal genuinely mattered. And yet, the story keeps going, ever marching toward redemption. Now, let's talk about how this gets so profoundly misunderstood today. In modern culture, the phrase spilling his seed has been co-opted and used in all kinds of teachings about human sexuality. Some traditions have built entire doctrines around it. Some have used it to condemn anything not explicitly aimed at procreation. Those conversations certainly have their place in broader ethical discussions, I'll grant you. But the original, primary context of Genesis 38 is emphatically about covenant duty, not the act in isolation. Onan was not condemned for the physical mechanics of his action. He was condemned for the underlying motive, the avoidance of responsibility. He didn't want to give an heir to his brother because it wouldn't contribute to his own personal legacy. That deep personal selfishness is what the Lord truly saw and judged. It's a critical distinction we often miss.
When we truly bring this into our Gothic Christian walk, we find such a rich, fertile place for deep meditation. We love the melancholic, don't we? We embrace dark aesthetics because they remind us faith isn't always sunshine and easy answers. Sometimes it's the heavy cloak, the haunting minor chord, the honest, unflinching look at divine judgment. Onan's story invites us to ask ourselves with genuine introspection where we might be refusing our own duties. Are we holding back from serving because it doesn't feel like it directly benefits us? Are we going through the motions of faith without full surrender? The call is the same. Step into the duty, even when shadows feel thick. We can also look at the positive side of the levirate idea in other scriptures. Think about Ruth. There, Boaz, the kinsman redeemer, steps up willingly. He honors the custom and brings redemption to the family. The contrast with Onan is sharp. One refuses and meets death. The other accepts and becomes a vital part of the line leading to David and Christ. That, my friends, is the profound Gothic tension we are called to hold. Death and life, refusal and acceptance, all woven together. As we continue to unpack this, let's consider the immense cultural pressure of the time. Inheritance wasn't just money, it was identity. The family name was everything. To let a brother's line die out was to let part of the family disappear into the grave forever. Onan knew that. He chose his own comfort anyway. God would not allow that choice to stand without consequence. The judgment was immediate because the stakes were high and the refusal was clear. In our own lives, friends, the duties may look different, but the core principle holds true. God calls us to faithfulness in the places He has put us. We are to build up the family of God, to care for the widow and the orphan in a spiritual sense, to not withhold what we have been asked to give of ourselves. When we refuse, we risk a kind of spiritual withering. When we obey, we become part of something far larger than ourselves. These verses, though short, carry implications that stretch across the whole Bible. From early Genesis, we see God caring about family lines. The promise to Abraham is about seed and offspring. Onan's refusal interrupts that for a moment, but God redirects it through Tamar. That redirection is part of the Gothic beauty. The divine plan is never ultimately defeated by human no. It is only rerouted through unexpected paths. This is truly encouraging for all of us who carry our own shadows.
This is truly encouraging for all of us who carry our own shadows. God doesn't wait for perfect people. He works through the ones who are willing to step into duty, even after others have refused. As we draw toward the close of this reflection, let us remember that the Gothic Christian life is profoundly about holding both truths. We see the undeniable darkness of Onan's refusal. We feel the heavy weight of God's justice in that moment. And yet, simultaneously, we rejoice in the brilliant light that still breaks through relentlessly. The very same God who struck Onan is the God who ultimately raised Jesus from the dead. The seed that was spilled in the dust, wasted and without purpose, paradoxically points us to the divine seed that would be planted in the tomb and rise again, full of life and promise. We are called to a different kind of levirate duty now, under the new covenant. It is the profound duty of love, of selfless service, of not refusing the hard places where God asks us to stand for truth and compassion. May we learn from Onan what not to do, what to avoid, and from figures like Tamar and Boaz, what it looks like to courageously say yes, even when the night is long and challenging. Thank you for joining me today, friends, for another episode of Assembly Bethesda On Air. As always, it is a genuine pleasure to spend this time delving into these rich, complex scriptures with you. Thank you for joining me. God bless. And until next time, courage.